Started here. The Monday, January 30th, 2023 meeting of the Marquette City Commission is now called to order at 6 p.m. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. City Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Hanley.
Here.
Commissioner Ottaway.
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Stonehouse.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis.
Here.
And Mayor.
Here. Right. With that, all commissioners are present. Moving on to approval of the agenda. Commissioners, do we have a motion on the agenda? Commissioner Stonehouse?
Your Honor, I'd like to take item 5 and put item 5 on the, or under the, table item 5 until next meeting. I think it's a very important issue. I think it's one that we should have all commissioners present for as we go through it.
Is there a second? Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Any discussion?
No, I don't think so, Your Honor.
Pro Tem Davis?
Only that I would support it for the same reasons that it would be, sorry, I would support it for the same reason as Commissioner Stonehouse, that it would be good to have all 7 commissioners available to discuss this.
Any other discussion by the commission? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The amendment passes 6-0. We will be tabling item 5 to our next business meeting. And again, that is the request to purchase city-owned property, 601 South Lake Shore Boulevard. Now, commissioners, do we have any other amendments or a motion on the agenda as a whole? Commissioner Smith?
I move that we approve the agenda as written with the one modification as previously stated.
Okay. Do we have a second on that? Commissioner Ottaway?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 6-0. All right. Announcements. I do have one announcement for the evening, and that I am just going to be appointing Commissioner Smith to the City Manager and City Attorney Compensation Subcommittee, which was comprised of Mayor Pro Tem Davis, Commissioner Stonehouse, and Commissioner Bonzel. And I'm requesting that the committee bring a recommendation to the commission by our February 27th meeting. Moving on to appointments. We have one this evening. Commissioners, do we have a motion on the appointment? Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
I move that we appoint Wallace Pearson to the Presque Isle Park Advisory Committee for an unexpired term ending 4/1/23 and for the subsequent term ending 4/1/26.
Do we have a second on that motion? Commissioner Stonehouse?
Second, Your Honor.
Any discussion? Commissioner Stonehouse? Any discussion?
No further discussion, Your Honor.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Motion passes 6-0. That brings us to our first public comment session of the evening. As a reminder, public comment may not exceed 3 minutes per person. Please state your name and physical address prior to giving your public comment. And as a note, if you are one of the candidates seeking appointment to the commission, you will have an opportunity to speak on that agenda item later in the meeting, just as an FYI. With that, is there any public comment for this evening?
Barb outside, 1324 North Front. I'm just going to state the obvious, because you are all responsible for selecting the new city commissioner. I just want to remind you that just to keep in mind the person that you're replacing and the fact that, he had a lot of community support. So obviously, his goals and his vision for the city are important to the community. And I would hope that you select someone that shares that person's mission. That's it.
Anyone else for public comment? Anyone else for public comment? Seeing none, public comment is now closed. Moving on to presentations, we have the Public Art Commission by our chair, Tracy Wascom.
So thank you all for having us, or having us, like I'm a royal we or something, having me here this evening to, sometimes you feel like a royal we, talk about a little bit on what we've done over the last year. And it's been kind of an array of things. It deals with a wide variety of sort of projects, some of which are very high profile, very sort of clearly recognized and sort of visible in the community, and some things which are sort of more behind the scenes and sort of arguably less sort of prominent in terms of what might be expected for those of us who are volunteering to do so. The biggest thing that we're sort of really pleased to finally see come to fruition was actually the Queen City Courts project there in Hurley Park, like that, as a thing to sort of integrate arts into the community in a way that hadn't necessarily been done before. It felt really good to finally get that project, which started before COVID, and bring it to completion, to bring artists of a really high caliber to our community, and also see the Hurley Park area in tandem with the renovations that were done to that playground really sort of breathe a real new life into that part of our community. And it felt good that public art could be part of that process. And if we have time, there's a video that I wanted to show here at the end of the presentation. We're also looking this year to revisit the Words to Live and Bike By project, which was one that we actually implemented during COVID to try to get people out into the community to connect in a particular way and sort of spotlight the Holly Greer bike path. We've designated, in theory, 5 locations that we would like to use. Those have to go through the approval process, and we'll be putting an RFP together this spring. I'm actually working on the edits to that tonight, and then it'll go out to our committee next week when we meet to sort of move forward with this process and then do an installation this coming summer. So far, we've also been really pleased at how well that the existing words have held up. We really thought that we would only maybe get a year or two based off of our winters, and they've been remarkably durable. We know that these are not permanent works, right? They do have a lifespan to them, but we've been very, very pleased that these really positive, affirmative sort of words have been part of this process. And we hope, as we look to this next instance of Words to Live and Bike By, that we'll also sort of breathe not just additional kind of affirmative life into the bike path, but also sort of bring these further and deeper into our community, not just along Lakeshore. One of the projects that we're really, really excited about is actually located at what I guess we'll still call the Spear Dock until we know what it's actually going to be called down the road. We were working with GEI consultants both before the pandemic, during the pandemic, and since then to sort of identify locations along the Spear Dock where public art might happen. That included sort of setting aside spaces on the area that is known as the South Dock, specifically along their garden areas where future public art projects could happen, so that those haven't been claimed for something else but would be nicely integrated into the sort of garden area. But the spot that we're most kind of excited by is actually benches. We very specifically looked to use benches, not just as, again, a utilitarian component, but also all of those end caps present opportunities for us to have smaller scale commissioned public artwork on an incremental basis that are not necessarily high ticket items, but would allow us to have even more public art on a regular basis come into our community. That could be anyone from a metalsmith and a metal worker to somebody who is a photographer or a graphic designer whose work might be translated into metal, so that we could see just a broad spectrum of work that might actually sort of be spotlighted down along the Spear Dock areas. I'm actually in a meeting tomorrow with a local metalsmith to sort of get some more sort of boots on the ground information about how that's going to actually work, making sure that we set aside enough money as we're looking at these proposals down the road for both fabrication and production, so that when we write those RFPs, we're doing it from a very informed process and that we can really do this and maintain it in a meaningful way. We've been also doing some consulting with Kids Cove with Nina Ittner, and we're very excited to sort of be helping them with that process of writing an RFP and an RFQ to then actually integrate additional public art down in Lower Harbor. That will be sort of another feature of this really wonderful renovation that's going to be happening down there in that Kids Park area. At the moment, it's definitely it sounds like the Dragonfly is going to sit at the heart of that for some very specific purposes tied to Kids Cove itself, but we're really excited to see that come into fruition as well. So Lower Harbor's about to get a whole bunch of new public art, which feels really, really good to see. The cultural trail has also been, at least a portion of that has been on our radar, and our role is a very sort of specific component of this. In part, it's been about securing a location that if we're going to have a work of public art that is centered around our Indigenous community and our Indigenous culture, that it is not sort of sequestered away. And working with GI, it is going to be pretty much front and center as we lead out into the South Dock. So they were willing to afford us that opportunity, and after speaking with representatives from KBIC, the Keweenaw Bay Indian community, they're very excited at the prospect of public art talking back to our Indigenous heritage in Marquette, having that sort of high-profile location where we can sort of expand the kind of conversations and honor the kind of histories that we have in our community, while also recognizing not just the beauty of art, but also providing a location for the land acknowledgement that will also be going on there. We have a list of artists, one in particular that has sort of risen to the top. We need to have some conversations internally, but the goal is to actually have an RFP, and I know we've said we're trying to get an RFP together, and it's been slower than what perhaps might be desired, but this isn't a process that we felt like we could, if you pardon the language, bully through this in working with a sovereign nation and trying to represent our Indigenous culture here in a positive and meaningful way. It's taken the time that it's taken, but all of these pieces are now coming together in a way that means that we're going to literally, foregoing radical catastrophe, have Indigenous art here next summer in a way that feels really, really good to finally be able to say genuinely. Marquette Compass has been put in place, and a lot of that, of course, has been fostered by Tina and her folks. We've been helping as we can, helping to write copy, to make the public art that we do have in town accessible and available to whomever might want to know the public art that is there. And it's also been a touch point for us to ensure that we can also be promoting that, and it will be a spot that we can use as we're looking at further educational goals down the road in relationship to the collection as well. So we're really, really pleased that that is now dialed in. It is a living thing, so it will continue to grow, but it is there. The signage is in process, something else I know that we have been promising you. I literally got an email with a maquette of it on my laptop at lunchtime today. So we are looking at literally getting that installed this summer. Always at that final approval, one last look over, and the signage that we have to designate that collection will be clearly visible for both us to know what we're accountable for other city constituents to know who to look to if there's a problem with the work, but to also ensure that anyone who is visiting that work, whether or not in this case they are cited or no, can actually access the title and the information about that work because there is Braille in place. So as we look at that sort of accessibility component, we're also making sure that that is there. So where are we sort of now, right, to kind of barrel us through this 10 minutes? The public art maintenance standard is the other, what I've often called the less than sexy part of what it is that we do. But if we are stewards of something, we need to make sure that we can take care of it. It's been a challenge to actually locate individuals and companies who could do this assessment process for us so we could get these pieces in place. Some of the ones we initially located were actually on opposite sides of the country, and then even when we reached out to them, they didn't want to come to Marquette to do it. Not that they didn't like Marquette, but we're just a small scale sort of component, or they were used to dealing with museums as opposed to sort of physical artwork. Due to some additional research and due to some actually additional things kind of coming to fruition, we now have the 3 that we need to sort of fulfill what our obligations are here, so we can actually move this onward while also meeting the expectations from the city that we're not just sort of picking our favorite client to do something, but we're actually sort of getting the proper quotes in place. That will allow us to not just sort of make a plan about what it means to maintain this work, but it'll also let us to better encumber the money that we know we need to do to ensure that we take care of the work that's actually part of the collection that we're responsible for. And kind of this last bit that we have, one of the things, and this isn't just because we have a number of arts educators, myself included, on the commission, is that the work that we have has got an amazing opportunity to act as an educational tool, both for tourists who are here, but also for our K through 12 systems, as well as through our university system too. So we really would like to focus more direct efforts on actually building teaching materials that could be integrated and also sort of pull people out into the community in conversations directly with that work and see that as a way to sort of engage not just with the work aesthetically, although that's certainly part of it, but also in sort of broader, more meaningful ways. We have some thoughts about some temporary pieces. One of those we'd hoped to do before, but we're looking for partners because they're temporary and they're not, $1,200 projects. To bring in sort of showpiece artworks for short periods of time in those kind of lull areas for tourist season. So could this be a way to sort of bring public art in while also bringing people into our community at a time when they might not normally sort of arrive here? So thinking about how public art can also sort of generate and sort of foster certain parts of the economy. And we also will be needing to look, I saw that there said there were 0 seats, but we have 2 people who are getting ready, they're ready to cycle out. And we've had 3 different people who have wanted to sit on the Public Art Commission, but they live in the county. And so that's a thing that we've run into rather frequently, that we've got people who want to serve. One of them is a business owner in Marquette, like literally owns a business in downtown. And we're like, we're sorry, we can't, invite you to do this. So I know that there's a lot of really beautiful reasons why that is. I guess this is my little box of soap. I don't want people who don't live in our community having say necessarily in our community either, but what are those considerations that we might have that people who do have a vested interest in our community, are there seats on some of these positions that might be sort of made available to them so that they could come in if they do have a direct connection with our community, i.e. they own a business downtown, that they could also sort of help contribute to sort of the ongoing efforts for what we do. So I suppose before we get to this bit, if I can let me borrow, hopefully, this, and we'll see if we get audio. So this was a video that was actually done to help promote the Fast Break project. We'll see this. And hopefully we'll have audio. Oh, sounds like we do. And as we move forward, this sort of promotion of our country is also something we plan on continuing to do. Okay, and thank you all for letting me have that little bit extra time to share that with folks too. So are there any questions that I might be able to field from y'all?
Do we have any questions from the commission? Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
Thank you. I remember when your commission started, and it hasn't been that many years ago, and as I watched it, it was like, well, they're not doing anything, but you were working so hard on policies and setting all of the standards, and all of a sudden, there's all this stuff going on. And it sounds like you have a really busy summer, because you kept saying, and this is going to happen, and this is going to happen this summer, so that's really exciting. The basketball court, I can tell you that in my very formal research of driving by it or walking by it at least once a day, that it was a very little used basketball court. And it is so used right now by the very young kids who skip around and play with the design, to younger kids who are playing basketball, to adults. So it really has done a lot for the community. And I don't know if everybody realizes, but if you take a really good look at that mural, it's 3D.
Yeah, it is.
And I am, well, you probably won't, but next summer when the snow is off, take a look at it. There's a lot of 3D things that are going on there. When you mentioned the benches, and I know that you only have a limited amount of money. I was wondering if there's potential for memorial benches. We have some of those other places of the city, or sponsored benches to help with your budget.
That's certainly something to consider. I mean, again, the meeting tomorrow is intended to sort of really pick the brain of not just what we think it's going to be, but actually say, okay, here's the footprint of the bench, and here's the thickness that we imagine that it needs to be in order to be viable. And then once that does happen, are there those kind of sponsorships? Absolutely. I don't think we're shooting, any of that down. Part of it is to really get a really good sense of what will happen or what could happen, and know that even while we're figuring that out, the benches are still doing a job. Right, like that they're not a gap waiting to be filled, except by sort of us in our own heads. And as they do happen, there should be a really lovely sort of progression that sort of unfolds. But I think that's a really lovely consideration, is like, could they be a memorial bench? And if so, maybe that's even certain RFPs that come together that are about honoring specific individuals or specific facets of our community.
Thank you.
Anyone else from, Commissioner Stonehouse?
Well, I just want to say thank you for all you do, and it really is a pleasure to have a committee working so well and doing so much with so little.
Thank you.
I would question one thing, though. You mentioned high visibility location for
Sure.
a project. And it seems like anytime we think about doing that, we get a lot of public pushback.
Oh, sure.
And I think it would be very wise to keep the commission appraised as you move down that alleyway, so we're all not surprised by an internal pick that we're going to put something somewhere,
Right.
and all of a sudden, we start getting phone calls at midnight.
That's fair. And
so-
certainly as these RFPs go forward, they've gone through approval in the past, and that certainly is the intention as well. And if there are sort of substantive concerns that would sort of warrant it moving, I mean, I don't think we think this is a really positive place. We feel like it's warranted for any number of reasons, but we certainly aren't going to try to like blindside y'all as we're moving forward with this.
No, I think we need to work together on that to make sure we get the best outcome we can have. But thank you again.
Welcome. Thank you.
Any other commissioners? Just want to say thank you for coming tonight and for giving us this great presentation. Love the video, by the way.
Yeah,
I'm
they did
excited
a
to
nice
see what some future ones look like as well. And I'm just excited to see what else you guys have down the pipeline
All right.
here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Moving on, that brings us to our consent agenda. Commissioners, do we have a motion on consent? Commissioner Smith?
I move that we approve consent as written.
And do we have a second? Commissioner Ottaway?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Your Honor, this is a roll call.
Thank you. City Clerk, due to item 3F. Okay. City Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Hanley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ottaway,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Stonehouse,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis,
Yes.
and Mayor.
Yes. Motion passes 6-0. Moving on to new business, item 4, which is our City Commission rules and procedures. Commissioners, do we have a motion on this item? Commissioner Stonehouse?
Your Honor, I motion to approve the City Commission Rules of Procedure number 2003-01.
And do we have a second on that motion? Commissioner Ottaway?
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner Stonehouse, any discussion?
Only to reinforce that these are done every annual meeting and certainly reaffirm how the commission operates for the general public. These are how we guide ourselves as we conduct meetings. Nothing further, sir.
No comment.
Any other comments from the commission? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
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 All those opposed? Motion passes 6-0. All right. Which brings us to what is now new business item number 5, which is the Marquette County Central Dispatch Policy Board. City Clerk, could you give us the background, please?
Thank you, sir. The Marquette County Central Dispatch Policy Board has a vacancy due to the resignation of Commissioner Jess Hanley. This Marquette County Central Dispatch Policy Board serves as an advisory board of the Marquette County Board of Commissioners and is established under state law. The board bylaws stipulate that one member shall be a representative of the city of Marquette, appointed by the county board based on a recommendation from the city. In the past, the city commission has typically appointed one of their own members to serve as the Marquette city designee on this board. Previous city commission members who have served typically have had transportation, law enforcement, or fleet management response experience. Fiscal effect, none. Recommendation, authorize the mayor to nominate a city representative for the policy board for a term ending December 31st, 2023. Alternatives as determined by the commission.
Thank you, City Clerk. Commissioners, do we have a motion on this item? Commissioner Hanley.
Sorry. I move that we authorize the mayor to nominate a city representative for the policy board for a term ending December 31st, 2023.
Thank you. And do we have a second on that? Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
I'll second the motion.
Discussion, Commissioner Hanley?
Just to say that the only reason I'm resigning from this board is my new job does not allow me to be there on the meeting times. I think it's a great board, and I think that taking the time to find any city member, not just necessarily a commissioner, might be the appropriate thing to do, as the board is going to be making a lot of very important decisions in the near future.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
Just a thank you to Commissioner Hanley for serving on the board for as long as she did.
Any other comments from the commission? Okay, and I would just also add, again, thank you, and it's also understandable that you just simply can't make it. With that, all those in favor, please say yes.
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 All those opposed? Motion passes 6-0. And I will announce the nominee at our next meeting under announcements. Okay. Which brings us to our final item of the evening, which is the city commission appointment. City Clerk, background, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. A city commission vacancy was created effective January 10th following the resignation of Commissioner Evan Bonzal. Under the provisions of the Marquette City Charter, the City Commission has 60 days in which to fill a vacancy via appointment. The commission voted unanimously on January 9th to accept applications from all interested parties and to consider the applications and appoint a new commissioner at tonight's meeting. The application was made available on the city's website and by mail to interested parties. Applications were accepted from January 10th until 4 p.m. on January 24th. In that time, the city clerk received 7 applications from interested parties. The applicants listed alphabetically are Peter Frazier, Carrie Gottlieb, Michael Larson, James Rankin, Tony Tollefson, Jen Tucker, and Nina Vanden End. All applications are attached, and all applicants have been verified by staff and meet the eligibility requirements stipulated by city charter. Fiscal effect, none. Recommendation, utilize paper ballots to arrive at a consensus in order to appoint a new city commissioner. Alternatives as determined by the commission.
Thank you, City Clerk. Commissioners, do we have a motion on this item? Commissioner Hanley?
I move that we utilize paper ballots to arrive at a consensus in order to appoint a new city commissioner.
Thank you. And do we have a second on that? Commissioner Ottaway?
Second.
Thank you. I am going to, real quick here, I read this the last time we went through this, and I'm just going to read it again because we have lots of new candidates that applied and may not know how we've typically done this before. But it's following more or less the same process we have done the last several years of going through this process. But I want to take a moment to explain the recommended process so everyone has an understanding of it. Each candidate seeking appointment of the commission will be given 3 minutes of privileged comment at the start of the process. I'll invite each candidate up to the podium for a chance to speak in alphabetical order. Once every candidate has been given the opportunity to speak, we will begin the selection process. Each commissioner will vote for one candidate by a written vote, which will be counted and verified by the city clerk. The city clerk will read the results of the total number of votes out loud. The written vote is more or less a straw poll to determine majority support amongst the commission. Once a candidate is identified as having majority support or determined in an alternative manner, a motion will be needed to actually appoint that candidate. A candidate must receive a minimum of 4 votes to be appointed via the city charter. If no candidate receives 4 or more votes following the first round of written voting, indicating a majority support is not determined, the commission will vote again. Any candidate that does not receive a vote, their name will be removed from consideration for all subsequent votes. This process will continue until a candidate is identified as having a majority support from the commission. In the event of a tie, after several consecutive rounds of voting, I will look to the commission for an actual motion. Once a motion is on the floor and seconded, the commission can then have open discussion regarding the motion, the candidates, and next step. At this time, I will begin inviting candidates up to the podium for 3 minutes of privileged comment, starting with Peter Frazier.
Making me go first. Just to say, I've got less experience, less training for everybody. I've been in your shoes before. Had to learn how to do the transition for a new commissioner. When my friend Tom Baldia passed away, we had to fill his chair. We waited a while, but we said to fill his chair. It was a tough decision, but we did the best we could. And it's a good board. Now, one board, it's a good board. Like the city commission board, their meetings like 20 minutes, 30 minutes tops. City meetings are 2 or 3 hours. It's a great board, very organized, and you just sit back and watch the show. Also know a lot of the former city mayors and managers. I see Mike once in a while, if I have to. I even joke with them. I said, you know, Mike, you can file for address at my mom's back garage in her upstairs apartment, so you can file for the city commissioner if you want. You know, why not? They said, oh, I might do it. We'll see. So maybe moving to Frank's place, he's not sure. But I also like to say, I researched for the city projects when the city commission got a lot of flack when they raised taxes and stuff like that. I know it wasn't the commission's fault. I've been there. The city brings it to it, then it brings it to the city commission. The commission has to make decisions. So I was looking to do research. When the BOP was going on, I did a lot of research, see what was going on, what the door source is. Basically, I talked to many power people. They said basically, what they were talking about, what people wanted to do was connect an extension cord to Wisconsin instead of having their own power. I said, not a good idea. Then as far as the new playground getting built, that's a great idea. I was on the Presque Isle board a long time ago with my Aunt Joni to build a new playground, originally at the island a long time ago. And we were doing the island, and then we hit the idea, let's make it inclusive, make it for everybody, because my Aunt Joni was a wheelchair bound. Fred, remember her, and she said, let's make it real. So I said, okay. Started researching lots of simple playgrounds. Evan went to one down in Texas. I was in Texas for my spring break, something like that. Researched one and asked them many questions. Like, hey, what do kids use? But just see what was going on. So I researched everything I do just to make sure, let people know. Also like to know what's going on in city projects. If there's a project going, like to see what's going on. I said no, so I can answer people's questions. So I like to keep people informed and do my best. Also, the best do everything for Kurt to help the commission and be a good commissioner. Thanks.
Thank you. Carrie Gottlieb.
Hi, Carrie Gottlieb. Thank you for this opportunity. I apologize for my nervousness with public speaking. It's not my forte. I'd like to add 2 items to my application. First, in addition to being on and then chairing the Parks and Rec Advisory Board, I was also on the city's 5-year Recreation Master Plan Committee about 5-6 years ago. I forgot to mention that one. Second, in addition to the other local nonprofit groups I have worked with, I was on the Trillium House Board as treasurer for several years. I oversaw the capital campaign and budget process there, which enabled us to build the hospice home. I know this opening is for Evan's seat. I met Evan while I was chairing the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. In my mind, I compared him then to a young Robert Kennedy. I'm not Evan. He's young and wonderfully idealistic. I'm older with different experiences, thus perhaps a little more pragmatic and realistic. As I stated in my application, I have extensive experience in working with boards and committees to get things done. Dare I say I've worked with and chaired committees of health professionals, which has been likened to herding cats. I've also been president of our religious organization, which is not dissimilar to that. As much as I try, regardless, I realize that I and we can't make everybody happy. Rather, we must try to see all sides, realize that not every situation will have a win-win solution, and compromise as needed, and then move on to the next item. I want to emphasize my experience with budgeting and finances. Although I have never dealt with a budget as large as the city, I have been treasurer and bookkeeper of our temple, the NTN, Trillium House, and my own medical practice. I understand profit and loss statements and realize expenses can't exceed income. That fact demands tough decisions from the City Commission on occasion. I've had to be part of those tough decisions at NTN early on, and it's paid off in the long run. Lastly, I'm a strong advocate for keeping Marquette as natural as possible. Our natural environment is good for the economy, as it brings tourists here, workers who want to be where they recreate, and businesses who want those tourists and workers. But we must be careful to grow in measured steps. With a changing climate, Marquette is poised to become a climate change refuge and simultaneously an outdoor sports mecca. Growth must be guided so we don't lose what we have. I think with my NTN experience and my own obsessions, I can help here. With that, I hope you consider my application favorably, but I know there are others here that bring equally valid and excellent credentials, and you guys have a really tough decision tonight. And good luck with that, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Michael Larson.
Good evening, Mayor, City Commissioners. Thank you for considering me today as a candidate for the open commission seat. I'm honored to be among these 7 applicants here, and I'm eager to be given the opportunity to serve the community in this capacity. I'd like to begin by highlighting my current role as Vice Chair of the Planning Commission. In this role, I've had the privilege of working alongside dedicated city staff and my fellow commissioners on a variety of important topics, such as land use zoning, transportation, and housing. I've also had the opportunity on this commission to facilitate public hearings and meetings focused on rezoning, special land uses, and code amendments, and the city master planning process. I look forward to working with the commission on balancing the needs of our community within the context of planning and our land development code. I'm also a professional here in the community with over a decade of experience working for a nonprofit in the field of clean energy and sustainability. I have a track record of successfully implementing contracts, programs, and grants. I have experience in renewable energy consulting, community engagement, and emerging topics such as beneficial electrification, including that of electric vehicles. I believe that my experience in this field is going to be beneficial to the Commission as you all work to make our city more resilient, sustainable, and energy efficient. In addition to my professional background, I have a deep desire for public service. I desire to use my skills and experience to make a positive difference in our community, and I believe that's evident in my nearly 6 years on the Planning Commission, 2 years on the Board of Zoning Appeals, and my appointment to the UP Energy Task Force. I understand that serving as a city commissioner isn't really about us as individuals, but it's really about the responsibility we have to serving the public and its citizens. Finally, I would like to stress that I'm a collaborative and solution-oriented individual. I believe that the best decisions are going to be made when different perspectives and ideas are heard and considered. I'll be committed to working with my fellow commissioners, city staff, and members of the community to find solutions and outcomes that are going to be beneficial to our city's future. I believe that my experience and dedication make me a worthy candidate for consideration, and I'd be honored to have the opportunity to serve on the commission and work together with you to continue making Marquette an even better place to live. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. James Rankin.
Good evening. I was born and raised in Marquette. I retired from the Michigan Department of Corrections in 2019. Figured 30 years of service was enough. Now, since then, I've worked at the hospital, and now I'm working for Peninsula Pharmacy and delivering prescriptions. In doing so, I've learned that in this experience that I've been able to come across a large section of the people that live in Marquette and work in Marquette. and been able to listen to them one-on-one for their concerns and their issues. Sometimes they're too nervous to come up here and speak in front of a committee or in front of a public. I was with the Marquette County Youth Football League for over 20 years. 2010, 2012, I was the president. And with my experience of working with the state of Michigan and Marquette County Youth Football, I learned that people from different backgrounds and different goals were able to come together and come to a common goal and cause. When I put my name in and people started hearing that I put my name in for the commission, they asked me what was my big agenda. My agenda was simple. All I want is to help make Marquette a better place to live, work, and play. That's it. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Tony Tellefson.
Mayor, Commissioners, was here last time around, and I shared with you my experiences then. You've had an opportunity again, and with the new commissioner, to review the applications. And I know you'll have many choices here, the opportunities to look at, and just glad that I'm here again to offer my services to work on behalf of the city, and let it go at that, and you'll have a decision to make. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jen Tucker.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you so much for the opportunity today, and to consider all of these folks is really so impressive. 7 applicants, or 7 folks that you're considering tonight, just goes to show how much Marquette residents love Marquette. So much, you know, more than any community I've seen. And I'm one of them, of course. Marquette is really the place that made me want to get into the professional realm that I work in today, in community development and planning. After graduating from Northern Michigan University, I did what I could to stick around. I pumped toilet tanks from boats, cleaned toilets, worked as a bartender, whatever I could to keep me in this community that I loved. And I couldn't really put my finger on why I loved it so much. You know, what was it that drew me? Really, what were the bones of what drew me? Obviously, like the lake, the walkability, there are so many things that attracted me, but what really was that? And after talking to some adults, some adult peer friends of mine, I realized that that was actually what community development was. And it turns out that is exactly what I was interested in pursuing professionally. I left for a few years to do that, to pursue a master's degree in urban and regional planning, and to work at a local unit of government, learning about the processes and expectations at the local level, all of those integral components of running a city. I worked for the Community Development Department, the Downtown Development Authority, and the Brownfield Authority at a local level. It was a good opportunity for me to give to the community I lived in at the time, and to really learn about those things that make a community what it is. So that's been always something that's drawn me to Marquette, and I feel like this is a great opportunity for me to give back. Right now in my current role, and I kind of wanted to draw attention to this just to alleviate any concerns or perception of conflict, is what I do now, which is in community development for the state of Michigan. I work for the Michigan Economic Development Corporation as community development manager. And in this role, I serve downtowns and downtown development projects throughout the Upper Peninsula. And I work with local units of government in some of their grassroots planning efforts. In this role, I bring forth projects and act kind of as a liaison to folks in Lansing for projects that exist that are either private downtown building redevelopment projects, and even sometimes projects in the public realm. And in this role, I get to act as the main support within the region, bringing projects to leadership. Projects that have local support, regional priority, and fit a lot of our considerations as a state. And we do this on both a project by project basis, you know, in the realm of, or timing of when projects have that public support and private financial support, and then also on a competitive round basis based on scoring. And I'm not involved in that on the state
Ms.
level.
Tucker, unfortunately, I
Oh,
have to stop you.
all right. Well, thank you guys so much for your consideration. Happy
Thank
to
you.
answer any questions if you have any.
All right. Nina Vandenan?
Good evening. I'm Nina Vandenan. I live at 3032 Island Beach Road. Thank you for having me, and thank you for all that you do for the city of Marquette. I really appreciate it. You've read my application. You know that you all know that I've campaigned before in 2019. I've served on several committees and boards for Marquette City and Marquette County. I'm currently on the Marquette County Board of Health as vice chair, and also the Presque Park Advisory Committee. I don't have a lot of experience with city planning or budgeting, but I certainly can learn. I'm just a nurse, but I've lived in the community my entire life, and I don't plan on going anywhere. I don't plan on seeking higher office. I just want to have an opportunity to serve. I also think that I would fit a nice demographic on the commission, being that I have a son in high school and a daughter who's 20, and she works full-time. She goes to school and would like to one day live in the city of Marquette, but can't afford it right now. So I would be in favor of allowing young, old, people to be able to live in the city would be nice. And that's about it. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And City Clerk, if you wouldn't mind just rereading the motion.
Yeah, so there was a motion by Commissioner Hanley, seconded by Commissioner Ottaway, to utilize a paper balloting process to find consensus.
Thank you. So Commission, on that motion, all those in favor, please say yes.
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 All those opposed? Okay. And City Clerk, I'm just going to kind of kick this over to you now.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, kind of the same process as last time. I put a stack of small paper ballots in front of everybody. It does have your name on it, so there's no need to sign it or anything like that. But if you want to just cast a vote on the first one in that stack, I'll come around and collect them, and then the Chief of Police and I will count the ballots and let you know the result. We'll go from there. Okay, and on the first vote, a majority of votes was received by candidate Michael Larson. So, Mr. Larson, if you want to join me at the, or wait, actually, I'm violating my own process. I'm sorry. So that's the consensus building process. You would need a motion to actually appoint a candidate.
Commissioners, do we have a motion? Commissioner Hanley.
I move that we appoint candidate Michael Larson to the City Commission.
Do we have a second? Commissioner Ottaway?
Second.
Any I guess any discussion? Okay. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Now I'll administer the oath if you want to join me over there.
If you'd meet the city clerk right up here.
That's because he wore a jacket.
Larson,
I, Michael Larson,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
and the Charter of the City of Marquette,
and the Charter of the City of Marquette,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of the Marquette City Commission
of the office of the Marquette City Commission
of the City of Marquette
of the City of Marquette
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Signature under here. We have to do it twice. You can keep that one.
Okay.
And you're gonna take that one. And then that is received. Thank you.
All right, congratulations. Moving on to our second public comment session of the evening. And again, public comment may not exceed 3 minutes per person. And if you have not done so already this evening, please state your physical address. Do we have anyone for public comment?
Hi, my name is Dar Shepard, and I live in the city of Marquette. And I am just curious to why we as a city continue to add fluoride to our water. Fluoride is a FDA non-approved drug. It is not a nutrient, and it does not do anything for our health. In fact, it accumulates in our body and is a detriment to our health, especially for our young children. Also, I'm not sure if you know, it is actually an illegal act. So I, as a citizen of this wonderful city, and very concerned about my health and the health of everyone else, I ask that you reconsider that practice. Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment this evening? Anyone else for public comment? Seeing none, public comment is now closed. That brings us to comments from the commission. I'm debating it. I'll be nice. Start things off with Commissioner Hanley and we'll move down the line.
Thank you. First off, I want to thank everyone that came and everyone that applied for the position. This was a very difficult decision for me, and I'm assuming for all the rest of the candidates or people on the board. There were a lot of very good candidates, and to choose what was very difficult, which I think is a wonderful thing to have. The problem of having too many good candidates is never a bad thing. It means that we have many people that want to serve our city, and we're lucky to have that. I do encourage every candidate that didn't make it to run this coming November. We will have an open seat, well, actually 3 open seats technically, but we will have 2 of us running for re-election. But I encourage everyone to run. Letting the city have the choice, I think, is the best way you can do it. Not that it's bad to be appointed, but knowing that your city is backing you is always a very good feeling. And anyone who has any interest in doing that can reach out to me, and I'd be happy to help you with what I did, even knowing you'd be running against me technically. I just think we want the best people working for the city. With that, I also want to congratulate our new fellow commissioner. I'm very excited to see you have on board. I think you have a lot of practical and great experience, and I think you're going to do a wonderful job.
First, I guess I will congratulate Commissioner Larson. Welcome aboard. I feel like I probably shouldn't even say welcome aboard. I've been here for, what, one or 2 meetings myself. But with that, that's why I will continue supporting how we are appointing commissioners, as opposed to some sort of special election process. As you could see, people leave, people come, and if we were to get into the business of special elections, the city would be spending a lot of money over and over and over again, and we can't afford to do that. This is a pretty streamlined process. I think we're making it more streamlined, and we're actually getting really good candidates. I really want to thank every candidate that applied. I encourage you all to certainly run for office. I can tell you, myself, I was sitting here listening very closely to everyone. I had great conversations with pretty much each of the candidates. And I think you all brought something different to the table. And really, in an election, I think we would be very happy to have any one of you. So echoing off of Commissioner Hanley, I encourage you to run. You would be great fits for the city of Marquette, all of you. So thank you.
Well, after those two, there's not a lot to say. I really do appreciate everyone who submitted an application, and I know that you do so out of the love of the city and the desire to serve the community, and that's so important, and it's so appreciated. So yes, please continue to serve our city some way, and congratulations, Commissioner Larson.
I really don't have anything new to say. Welcome and congratulations, Commissioner Larson, and really a big thank you to those that did apply and put yourself out there. I hope that you consider running in the future. And as mentioned, but I'll just make it more clear, our wonderful Commissioner Stonehouse will be termed out soon, so there will be an actual true vacancy. So unfortunately, he is not allowed to run again. So as much as we've got 3 seats that are on the docket, there's no incumbency for one of those seats. So we, if our commissioners are reelected, we still need somebody new, or you can run against them. But I think they're doing a pretty good job. Thanks.
The rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated here. I've still got a few good months left. Let's let me ride that railroad a little bit. I too will give my congratulations to to Mr. Larson for stepping aboard and doing what you're going to be doing over the next 3 years, I think. And it's going to be a tough road we've got to go. You've got to go, but I'm sure you're up for it. Thank you for doing it and stepping up to the responsibility on it. And thanks too to everybody that applied, because I think, like has been said so many times before, what a quality of stars that we really were very privileged and at the same time very challenged to try and pick the best from. It's difficult, and thank you for making it difficult as you can possibly make it, because I think that speaks volumes to the quality of the people that are living in the city and the people that want to help the city moving forward. And truly, each one of you is representative of that. So thank you again. Thank you, Your Honor.
Commissioner Larson?
I would just like to say thank you for the vote of confidence you had in me in serving with you. I look forward to it. I appreciate the statements where it was a difficult field of folks, and when I saw that list, I knew I was up for a challenge. So I appreciate you, the vote of confidence you have in me, and moving forward, I look forward to serving.
I will try to be brief because I'm probably going to say the same thing, but I also would like to thank all the candidates that did apply. It was kind of exciting, I think, for all of us really to see how many new names there were on that list too from the prior go-around just a few months ago here. And I encourage everyone to either run, as has been suggested, or even apply for some city boards or committees. And to the point of special elections, I don't even know, our poor city clerk, how that process would look. We'd have to basically do another one a month after creating a special election, and that could be quite a mess. And welcome aboard, Commissioner Larson. On the Planning Commission, everything's kind of black and white with how you guys have to make decisions, and I now encourage you to have more of an opinion and not have to stay so much in that black or white. So,
thank you.
With that, I'm going to kick things over to our city manager.
I'm just going to keep it brief, no comment. Thank you. Other than congratulations, but I've got nothing tonight. Thank you. Otherwise, I'll cough.
All right. With that, we are adjourned at 6:59 p.m.